The misunderstanding is that, well, I don't need estate planning. I don't have a lot of assets yet. I have young children and we're just building, So why do we need estate planning? Well, estate planning, particular pieces of estate planning are even important for children when they turn 18 and older. It's for the parents mainly. All right, so your child goes off to college. They're now past 18 years old and they're sick and you need to call them the hospital or a doctor and get some information. And they say to you, we can't give you that information. You're like, well, I'm her mom and she's on my health insurance. They're like, well, that doesn't matter. It's a HIPAA violation, right? Discussing people's medical information to people who are not authorized to get that medical information is a potential lawsuit. Where we really, focus is, and it begins with young couples who are, whether they're having children or, purchasing a home and those kinds of things. So the biggest thing about having children is guardianship. People don't think about that. That's a big part of estate planning. What happens if something happens to you? Who raises your children? And such a big question. And I've seen a lot of things. Sometimes, it works out really well and sometimes it doesn't and becomes very difficult. But so, there are those kinds of things. And then there's what happens if something happens to, one of the spouses. What do you do with the house? Like, who's paying the mortgage? Like, where'd the income come from? Well, we need to know and understand what that's, going to look like.
Right.
So there's some planning that we can do for that. And then you get into the part where, maybe there are families whose children have grown and they're off to college and now they're starting to think about their retirement. So we call that pre-retirement. And then those who get into retirement. And now it's a matter of you got to start thinking about how am I passing on those assets because you've accumulated a lot over the years. You'll be surprised. And then it's a matter of determining, who's going to dictate where those assets go when I die. And you have one of two choices. You can create an estate plan, begins with an E, or you can have a state plan, which is a state, which is when the state comes in and makes decisions for you. Yeah, people don't want that. Now, a will in and of itself just kind of helps establish what that's going to be. These are the basics of what people need. Getting up into those ages, I would say that if you don't have a will and these powers of attorney for healthcare, how about finance? Right, I have a cousin. She had a massive stroke. She lives out in California. My parents are in New Jersey, and she needed help with her finance. Like, she was a Jane Doe when she went to the hospital because nobody had, a healthcare power of attorney. And then who was paying the rent to maintain her apartment and the other things that she had? My dad had to go and kind of figure all this out, and he went through heck and high water to be able to do that.
People don't really even think about that until you're in it too, right? It's one of those things where
I know.
Like, you'll figure it out when it happens, and then it happens, and it's too overwhelming to figure out.
Yeah, see, that's really what the thing is. You're right. People think, well, you can't imagine all the scenarios that can happen as to why you would need it. So why not simplify the whole issue and just get it done sooner than later? And you don't even have to think about it. So that's why it's so important, because you don't know everything that can happen. And when things do happen, they can become really, really difficult to manage. It can be very costly, and it can be really detrimental to a person's health.